112 with 8.9 seconds remaining.
It's time for Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll bring you into the locker room and hear from Coach Kerr and the players. Highlights from the game. Warriors Wrap-Up starts now.
Wow. Just wow. I mean, it's been that kind of week for the Golden State Warriors. We welcome you into Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. My name is Evan Giddings. After the Warriors fall in Los Angeles, the final score today, Clippers 113, Warriors 112. You heard it there from Tim Roy, as you do every single game on 95.7 The Game, your voice of Warriors basketball, and he was just about as astonished as I think the rest of us are. Considering the way that this game went, it was about in as much control for the Warriors as you could hope for. They led by as many as 22. 15 seconds into the third quarter, they led 70-48. That was their largest lead of the game. They led by double digits in the fourth, and they were doing it against a Clippers team that they defeated on Thursday night. They had a chance to put together a home-and-home set of wins, and instead, for the second time in less than 7 days, they blow a 20-plus point lead. In Sacramento, it was 24. Here this afternoon, it was 22. And as much as there were a lot of good things that happened in this basketball game for the Warriors, the loss unfortunately mars a lot of that. And so I'm curious how the fan base is feeling right now about the state of the Warriors, especially coming off another gut punch of an L that moves Golden State back 2 games below 500 to 9-11 overall, now 500 on the road. The Clippers, by the way, advancing now 9-10. But 888-957-9570 is the number. If you want to call in, let me know how you're feeling. On the Comcast Business text line, what did you think about the finish of that game? What did you think about the totality of that game? Everyone, welcome you into YouTube. Appreciate you watching out there and listening, of course, as always, on the Odyssey app. Again, my name is Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. After the Warriors fall to the LA Clippers, they muster just 45 points in the second half. They allowed 55 points in the second half. And this was a Clippers team that, again, coming into this game, and we talked about it both on Warriors This Week as well as Warriors Live, I felt like they were a Clippers team that was ready to roll over, that was ready to take a punch and lay down. And to their credit, they didn't today. But I think the Warriors allowed them into this game, and they allowed them to gain momentum in a fashion in which, again, look, halftime, unlike Thursday night, and this was kind of something that I was wondering if the Clippers would kind of get back into the game on Thursday. It was a quick 5-0 run at the end of the half for LA that cut a 16-point Warriors lead to an 11-point Warriors lead. And then the lead got down to 4, and it felt like the Clippers were on their high horse, and they were gaining some steam. And then a 10-0 run presented by Klay Thompson in the third quarter of the game on Thursday really created cushion that the Warriors needed and rode to a 6-point win. Here today, I mean, they finished the first half about as highly as you could hope. Stephen Curry goes on a personal 8-0 run to end that half. They're up by 19. They're cruising. Draymond Green's hitting threes. He hit 4. He had a fantastic game. 21 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, only 3 turnovers. Hit 8 of his 15 shots. Brandon Podziemski plays a game-high 37 minutes along with Stephen Curry. Curry, 11 assists, only 2 turnovers. But again, what went wrong down the end of that basketball game? And yes, 20-point leads aren't probably created as, protectively as they were 20 years ago. But it's still a 20-point lead, and this is the second time in 3 games that the Golden State Warriors have lost when they have led by 20 or more. And just to put this in perspective of how little this happens specifically to Golden State under Steve Kerr, the Warriors entering this game were 288-4 in regular season and playoff games since Steve Kerr arrived when leading by 20-plus in a game. And this week, they are now 0-2 in said situations. That stats courtesy of Josh Dubois of the Associated Press. Again, 288-4 under Steve Kerr when leading by 20 or more points in the regular season or playoff games. And they were 0-2 this week in such situations, of course, on the road in Sacramento on Tuesday night, and then here this afternoon against the Los Angeles Clippers at Crypto.com Arena. The Warriors blew a lead of 20-plus points for the second time in the week. That's the first time that has happened since 2002, or the 2001-2002 season. And for those of you like myself who are Bay Area natives and familiar with Golden State Warriors basketball in the early 2000s, that was not a pretty time. The Warriors have, according to their own voices, aspirations to win a championship. Right now, it doesn't look like it. And this was a game that I didn't necessarily feel like was pivotal. It's not going to make or break your season. But in order for me to look at the game on Thursday with validity and to put emphasis into what that victory was at home at Chase Center, I did want to see the Warriors win this basketball game today. And I saw a lot of good, but it's impossible to overlook the letter L with the way that the Warriors looked again earlier this week and then here against a Clippers team that up until about the third quarter was kind of sleepwalking. I thought they took a lot of easy shots, or bad shots, but easy way out type of shots. They were hanging their hats on whether or not they were going to make threes. They were living and dying with bad shots. They were lazy in transition. The Warriors were getting to loose balls. They were winning 50-50 balls. Moses Moody was fantastic. The bench was good again, and specifically Brendan Podziemski, who I think has made a name for himself now in back-to-back performances in which he's put his name on the map without Chris Paul. And look, I know the Warriors are short-handed. They don't have Andrew Wiggins for a second consecutive game. They don't have Chris Paul for a second consecutive game. Gary Payton II is on the shelf for some time. But with the way that they controlled the game for, I would say, 30 minutes of the 48, and then things started to not go their way, of course, in that third quarter, I mean, this is another gut punch of a loss. And so I want to hear how you're feeling after the L in which the Golden State Warriors fall to the Los Angeles Clippers, 113-112 in Los Angeles. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up. That's also the number for the the Comcast Business text line, and appreciate you joining us here after a loss. From the 510, starting to feel like the Mark Jackson era. Well, we always had a lead going into the fourth, but you know that you're going to blow it. From the 510, the keys of the game, again, were, to stop throwing it up from three-point range. I don't think they did that tonight. I mean, the Warriors, I thought, took good shots. I think for most of the game, they took care of the basketball. But then the Clippers absolutely just forced their way back into this basketball game, and it really started in the third quarter. And in fact, the fact that the Clippers only had a lead for, the final 8.9 seconds of this game, in which Paul George hit a step-back three. That was the first and the only time, and the final time, that the Clippers led in this game. If not for Klay Thompson hitting some tough shots, for Moses Moody making some hustle plays, for Brendan Podziemski doing his thing, for Draymond Green, who had another offensive explosion tonight, his first 20-point game of the season, in which he hit 4 3-point shots, the Clippers might have been able to grab a hold of this game earlier. And I'm just looking at this third quarter in which the Warriors come out again. They're up by 22 points. They're up by 22, 70-48 at the 11:45 mark of the third quarter. And Paul George comes out and he starts jacking it. He starts shooting. And the Warriors start to kind of let them back into this game. 6-minute mark, or the 5-minute mark, pardon me. It's still a 17-point lead. Warriors are up 85-68. But then over the next 40 seconds, a Clippers 7-0 run. The Warriors foul trouble, getting them in trouble again as LA went 8 of 8 on free throws in the third quarter. James Harden starts to cook. A 13-2 LA run in which Harden scores 10 points. He had 15 points in the third quarter. And it goes from up 22 down to 2. And a Klay Thompson couple of baskets down the stretch of that third quarter allowed the Warriors to head into the fourth with a little bit of cushion, but still it's all the way down to a 7-point lead, 92-85 heading into the fourth quarter. And so the question becomes, can the Warriors close? Can they finish a game in which they have controlled for the majority of the contest? Though the momentum certainly swung back in the direction of the Clippers, the Warriors had multiple opportunities down the stretch of this game to close it out. And if you want to say, look, a 20-point lead is not as big as it used to be, especially with how prolific some offenses can be. Number one, I'd say the Clippers haven't shown themselves to be that yet this year. This is their first fourth quarter double-digit comeback this season, the first time they've come back from down 20 in a game this year. But the Warriors also had a 5-point lead with 66 seconds left in the game, and they could not find a way to close it out. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up. And right now, it is difficult to see the Warriors as a team that is anything but inconsistent at this point. I know they started 6-2, and I know then they went into a lull. They lost 2 of 10, in fact, and then it felt like they got back on track on Thursday. But how would they respond today? Well, they responded well in the first half. They responded well even maybe about midway through the third quarter. The first 30 minutes of this game, I thought the Warriors looked like the Golden State Warriors of old. We were talking about Draymond Green in his throwback game. Stephen Curry is the point guard with Chris Paul out. Moses Moody is doing a fine job filling in for Andrew Wiggins. Brendan Podziemski off the bench. I mean, there was a lot that I had planned on talking about in this postgame show here on Warriors Wrap-Up that was positive for Golden State. But again, it all feels marred by another catastrophic loss, by another gut punch of a loss, by blowing a 20-point lead that, again, the Warriors had not done more than 4 times in the entire Steve Kerr era entering this week, and they did it twice in 7 days. So, what do you think went wrong down the stretch of this game? 5 fourth-quarter turnovers for Golden State. The Clippers, by the way, also had multiple three-pointers that could have tied or sent them ahead. I think tied is probably the best, from the corner. I think there was a couple. Norman Powell missed one. Terrence Mann missed one with a chance to tie. And so the Warriors had their opportunities. They played from ahead the entirety of this game outside of the final 8.9 seconds. A beautiful out-of-bounds play set up for Brendan Podziemski when it was 107-106. Clay's the inbounder, clears out Terrence Mann. Draymond Green hits Podziemski, who glides in for 2. Kawhi loses a possession turnover. Moody draws a clear path foul to put the Warriors up by 5. Though he did miss one of the free throws, you had a 5-point lead with 66 seconds left. Then the defensive breakdowns enter. James Harden ends up for a layup. A possession later, Kawhi Leonard coast to the basket. And then Curry, unfortunately, is unable to close out the game with a step-back 18-footer with 18 seconds left that would have put the Warriors up by 4. Russell Westbrook grabs the rebound, streams it up court. Paul George hits a step-back three-pointer, and that was the dagger. With 9 seconds left in the game, Paul George hit a 26-foot step-back three-pointer that gave the Clippers their first and final lead, 113-112. That is the final score here for Golden State in L.A. as they fall to the Clippers. They are now 9-10 on the year, 9-11 on the year, pardon me. 2 games under 500. And I want to hear from you at 888-957-9570. That's the number. Also the number for the Comcast Business Text line. Let's head out to Oakland and talk to Gene. Let's get this thing rolling here on Warriors Wrap Up. What's up, Gene? You're on with Evan. How you feeling after the game, man? What's going on?
I'm feeling frustrated. I thought we had this one. Look, these fourth quarter fades have become a real problem the last 2 years. I don't know whether it's, old age, fatigue, or what. I know part of the problem, and I'll get to that in a second. But first of all, props to Steve Kerr. I mean, playing the kids at the end, especially in crunch time, a lot of us have been wanting to see that, and I'm glad he did it. Sure, they made a couple of mistakes, but I thought they fared well, availed themselves well at the end. And I hope he keeps doing that because we're going to